So I've been reviewing cars for a long time, but when I first got into the business, it's very hard to get invited to certain drive events. So you can easily get invited to like a Ford or a Kia or some normal car, but if a German manufacturer invites you, it's very difficult to get invited to Mercedes, BMW, and Audi. So I got a call to be involved in an Audi program in 2007. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm in. I'm pretty new at doing this. I was Oprah's automotive expert. So, but random hits on TV, and I've been reviewing cars. I kind of used it as a launch point. But by '07, I was kind of getting into it, but I wasn't the premium people. There's like levels. You're actually graded as a journalist. Like, are you A, B, C? Now I'm an A plus because I'm North American Car and Truck of the Year and I'm a World Car Juror. But if you're not either of those, you're lucky you get invited to these things. So Audi's doing this program called the Mileage Marathon. They were bringing diesel to the US. We all remember that. They're bringing not just the Q5, the Q7, which is the first one to hit. They're bringing the A3 TDIs, all the TDI lineup. So they brought vehicles over from Europe, and they were doing a coast-to-coast drive to prove fuel economy. And so what they did is they had different journalists do different waves. So only a few people did the whole full coast-to-coast. And one of them worked for the Boston Globe. And I didn't know him because I wasn't part of the A-list journal reviewers at the time. So I kind of showed up probably as like a C or D list, just grateful to be there. So I showed up mid-pack. I was doing just 2 waves. That's all I was invited for. I was happy to take, I would have taken 1 wave. I was just happy to be invited. So I show up, and the guy who's in charge, Andrew, we'll just call him Andrew, comes up to me and he says, "Hey, listen, could you do me a favor?" Absolutely. Like, I'm the newbie here. What can I do for you? I need you to, because usually you partner up, and then you switch drivers. I need you to partner up with this person, but you have to drive first in the morning. This person cannot drive until the driver switch point. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not going to question it. Not too many women in review cars, and not too many people get invited to these things. So I'm going to shut my face, and I'm just going to get in the car with this total stranger, and I can get along with anybody. So I get in the car with this guy, and I'm driving. This is the first day, and all we're trying to do is hyper miles, so you can get the best fuel economy, because the winner gets a bottle of champagne at the end of each one. So we're driving to Durango, Colorado. That was the first run. So I forgot where we started, but we ended up in Durango. So we're driving and we're hypermiling, and he's like super anal about it. You have to coast, and you get to a traffic light, shut the car off. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making this not even fun anymore. You're just making this like torturous. But I played along because I was asked to. And so I drove the first half, switched in the afternoon. He seemed totally fine, just a little weird, but whatever. Lunchtime goes, we switch. I drive, he drives, everything seemed fine. We won. He goes, "See, I told you, you gotta listen to me. We're the winner." Because we got hypermiling down. At the time, we were driving the Q5 diesel. So there was Q5s, there was cars and SUVs. So I'm like, okay, so the next day we're supposed to drive the A3 TDI, which is a wagon essentially, but very cool car. I love them. We had won the bottle of champagne the night before, and I'm not really a drinker. I drink like nice tequila. He's chugged the whole bottle himself. I mean, we're talking about a big bottle of champagne that you should share with others. And I knew a couple of the other people on the wave, and they were like, "Yeah, don't let him drive in the morning. He's a big drinker." I'm like, "Oh, now I got it." So I got the alcoholic. All right, got it. So now I know I have to drive the morning and maybe see if I can delay the driver swap so that I don't find myself him driving with a DWI. So morning comes, he gets in the car, we get in this A3 TDI, and it had rained pretty heavily the night before. And we're going from Durango, Colorado to Las Vegas. So this is like the second to last run. All right, fine. So I'm driving, everything's fine. We do our driver swap. And I'm like, okay. So what I didn't know, and I found out later, was that because of the rain, they had taken us off this dirt road and moved us onto a pavement. But apparently, the people that were doing the programming of the GPS, because you just followed the GPS, failed to do the 2 A3 TDIs. The other one is a journalist who I still talk to, Don Buffamonte, and he was writing with Sebastian Blanco, who's also, we're still writers, we're still all friends. And so it was just the 4 of us that had this specific vehicle. Well, they were ahead of us, so I don't know what happened. So we're now driving, and it says turn right. And I'm like, this is dirt. I go, people that own A3 TDIs or who would buy one are going to be driving in dirt. There's something wrong. He's like, "Oh, no, trust me. I know what we're doing." And he has no racing experience. no high-speed driving experience. He's a car reviewer, and most of them have zero racing or real performance car experience. He's hammered down. We're going up and down these hills in the Mojave Desert. And I'm like, I go, you got to slow down. You got to slow. We don't know what's over these hills. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And I'm a racer. I'm like, if it's blind, you don't know what you're going to see. Oh, I got it. I'm thinking, oh God, we're going to die, you know? So I'm watching him as we reach the top of this hill, and he's hammered down. We had to be doing 90 miles an hour. And I'm like, this is so stupid. It's just stupid in general. We come down the hill, and I look up, because racers keep their vision up, and there's a huge boulder in the road. I'm like, oh, I reach over and I slam down on his right leg, and we launch over the boulder. He's swearing at me, like, what the hell are you doing? I reach over and I shut the car off. I go, we're done. I go, you killed it. He goes, what are you talking about? He says, why did you hit my leg? I said, if I didn't, you would have hit the brakes. That's everyone's natural reaction. The nose would have come down. You would have hit that boulder, and we would have done a nose over tail, and we'd probably be dead in the desert, or they would take a long time for us to find us. He just looked at me, no clue about nose diving. And if you accelerated, told him you launched over it. I said, but we probably tore the oil pan off, and that's why I shut the car off. And he just looks at me. I can't believe it. I said, well, there's obviously a mistake. We should not be on this road. So sure enough, they gave us phones. So I called this guy, Andrew, and I go, we have a little problem. I said, we had an accident in the desert. What do you mean you're in the desert? You should be on the pavement. I go, nope, we're in the desert. Believe it or not, there is perfect cell service in the Mojave Desert. So they go, we're going to find you. So we're waiting in the desert. Now remember, this guy was a drinker, and it's hot in the desert. And I'm wearing black pants and a white shirt, long pants, jeans, and he's wearing pants and long sleeve shirt. He goes, well, I'm going to change. So courtesy, I turn my back. He changes his clothes, and he's just sweating profusely, just sweating. In the meantime, I said, well, I didn't have anything to change into, but I had to go to the bathroom. So I had to pee in the desert. So they go, well, there starts a bucket list. That was far from on my list of like, I will add this to a bucket list. And in retrospect, that could have been very dangerous. You know, scorpions, you don't know what you're going on. So in retrospect, yeah, that could have been pretty painful. So I come back and he had literally drank all the water in the car. Because he was just sweating. He just couldn't cool his body down because he had been drinking so much the night before. I didn't stay out and go drinking with the guy. I went to bed. So they can't find us. We get a call back. We can't find you. Why are you not on the route? I go, we're on the route. He says, we're still going to try and find you. We're going to try and backtrack. We've got the cavalry coming. Okay. So I decided I better call my husband, let him know what's going on. I go, hey, Paul, I'm in the Mojave Desert. This is what happened. And he goes, take a picture. I go, take a picture of what? He goes, everything. He goes, take a picture of the rock, the car, the damage. Take a picture of the GPS unit. Take a picture of everything. Everything. I go, why? He goes, they're going to blame you. I go, I wasn't even driving. He goes, they're going to blame you. I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was the one that saved this car. Fine. Finally, 3.5 hours later, no water. This guy's still sweating like he's going to drop. I'm dying. I got an umbrella because it was, rain. I figured at least I had an umbrella. And I'm standing there in the desert like, I'm going to kill this guy. Believe it or not, later on, a farmer comes by in a truck. He goes, you guys okay? I go, well, not really. I said, you're kind of waiting. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, there's boulders in these roads all over the place. So this road was just before we got to lunch. So at the end of the road was the lunch stop. So he says, well, there's a restaurant about 2 miles up the road. I'm like, well, I'm not going to walk 2 miles in the desert with an alcoholic and leave this car behind. And we also had our gear with us, camera gear and whatever. So 3.5 hours later, coming from the opposing direction is 3 Audi service vans filled with German mechanics and someone with a Q7 TDI. They come out, they're all talking to each other in German, blah, blah, blah. I can't understand half of what they're saying. And the guy gets in the driver's seat. I get in the passenger seat and I look at him and I go, I hope I saved your engine. And he looks at me like I have 3 heads. I said, yeah. I said, that's the GPS. It sent us on this path. Because my husband forewarned me, so I'm locked and loaded here in my head. And I said, this is what happened. And he goes, I don't know how you got there. He cleared the screen. I'm thinking, you bastard. I thought, okay, now this is how the game is going to play. I said, well, I shut down your engine. I said, I doubt this thing is an AccuSump, which for those people who don't know is an extra tank of oil in case an engine failure keeps the engine lubricated. It's time to shut it down. A lot of race cars have it, or they use windage trays, a lot of different things. So he just kind of looked at me like, lady, what's your problem? He didn't say a word, got out of the car, and then they moved the guy's luggage to the other car, but they didn't move mine. So I'm like, oh, we're going to play this game. See, they don't know who they're talking to. Barking up the tree with me is a big mistake. So I grabbed my luggage and I heaved it into the back of the Q7. They go, we're going to drive you. I go, no, bullshit. I'm driving. We got to the destination and this guy, Andrew, and a bunch of executives were there apologizing, really sorry, this happened, da-da-da. And I said, well, I don't know what happened. I said, but we were definitely on the wrong road, and that's where the GPS went. And they go, do you have proof? And I go, it's funny, I do. So I pulled out my small iPhone at the time, and I showed them all the pictures. They're like, oh. I said, oh, yeah, I got pictures of all of this. I said, and I don't know what the story is. I said, I shut down the motor. I said, I hope I saved it. So they were super apologetic. They gave us a whole bunch of clothing, and, they got us to the hotel, and everything's good. So that was in September. In November, I'm at the SEMA show, the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers show. And by the way, I never saw Royal again after that. He went his way. He got fired from the Boston Globe, and he was in Thailand, and he's back. I don't know. He's doing his own thing. And I'm still doing this because I'm crazy. I get to the SEMA show, and it's the end of the show, and we have a booth there for Classic Tube, and I'm standing there. A guy walks up, and he's wearing an Audi Mileage Marathon shirt. And I thought, well, you wouldn't have got one of those unless you were a journalist. So I said, oh, are you a journalist? He says, no. I said, well, you have a Mileage Marathon shirt. He goes, oh, I work for Audi. I said, you do? I go, what do you do for Audi that you would have that shirt? This is very interesting how this all kind of fell together. And he goes, oh, because we had all of the German cars come in, and every single one had a computer in it, and we were collecting all the data and fixing the cars and sending them back to Europe to prove that they were getting good fuel economy here in the US and how people were driving them and the full results. And he goes, I said, really? I said, did you have an A3 TDI that was damaged? He goes, oh my God, there was some girl who was driving that thing. I go, stop right there. Stop there. And I said, I'm correcting the record. I corrected the whole record and told him the story. He goes, really? I go, I got pictures to prove it. He goes, wow. He goes, well, I'll tell you one thing. He goes, you saved the motor. So I told him I started the bucket list. At the time, I had an S6 with a V10 engine in it, the Gallardo motor. He sent me a huge box of Audi Mileage Marathon things and S6 stuff, and it was great. So in the end, I corrected the record. But it's funny, if you ask those other two journalists to this day and people that were at that event, everyone remembers that I was the one who was in the wreck in the desert in the passenger seat.
Buying a used car, especially sight unseen, can be a very scary process, and you should never do that without getting the car inspected first. And the best and easiest way to have that done is using the Lemon Squad. They are an amazing resource that can almost immediately inspect a car for you anywhere in the country. They have no hidden fees, they're the largest company in the industry, and they have the fastest response times in the industry. So check them out now at the link in the description below. You can use the code VINwiki for a 10% discount. It is the best way not only to find out if you're being scammed, find out if the car is a piece of garbage, and to make sure that you're buying exactly the car that you're looking for. So next time you buy a car, make sure to use the Lemon Squad.